Welcome to Tree Dog Tuesday, only on the Fueled by Joy Working Dog Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Tree Dog Tuesday. I got a good one for you today. We're going to be talking money hunts. Mark Gilmore, the $100,000 hunt. What an awesome deal there. We've got some listener questions to get into. We've got all kinds of cool stuff here on TDT. Plus, the Super Hunt is coming. I want to talk about Lane Leverett being the last contestant in the Joy Dog Food Super Hunt, which will be, of course, aired on Cane Stream Media. Lots of good stuff coming up. So we'll listen to a little word from our sponsors and we'll get right into it. Why aren't you buying Joy Dog Food? Quality product, American made, family owned, and it is ran by a houndsman and owned by a houndsman. And in this day and age, man, we've got to stick together. Your dogs will look better, they will act better, they will hunt harder, and they will be healthier on Joy Dog Food than 99% of the other feeds out there. It's made by coon hunters, it's loved by coon hunters, and I have no idea why you guys aren't buying it. So, if you're not buying Joy Dog Food and you would like to try Joy Dog Food, go to joydogfood.com. All the information's on there, all of our products. Try it. You'll like it. Let's keep our hard-earned money inside the hound hunting community. All right, we are going to get into some listener questions here a little bit later. But first, I want to congratulate Mark Gilmore and apologize for not getting the Cane Stream viewers something to watch down there at the Michael Moody Memorial. When you look at that Final Four, those were all what I would consider friends of mine. Michael Ward, of course, you've seen him on the Elite Handler Series. He's won enough trucks to fill a car lot. Dual Murphy, Super Hunt contestant, EHS championship contender. He's going to be facing John Strickland in the Elite Handler Series. Hunting a fantastic dog in Crash, one of my favorite dogs. And Brett Denny, he's knocked on the door so many times, and he's there in the Final Four. Great dog, man, great dog. And then you look at Mark. Mark, and I don't know. I text Christy to see who made him hunt that off. She has not replied to me yet. Christy, if you're listening to this, thanks for the ghost. But I I'm just really happy with Mark and Clyde because Mark, the first time I met him, I think I'd met him before, but the first time I had him in a cast, I was judging down in Texas. It was the Lone Star Shootout. I believe it's a $2,500 entry or $5,000 entry, something like that. And we're in the semifinals, and he's hunting a Jigs dog. He wasn't hunting Clyde. It was before he had Clyde. And Wyatt Monan's in the cast, Clifford Lincoln, and Zach Burden. Good casted dog. And at the end of that cast, or towards the end of that cast, Mark's dog had made a slick. I'm judging. I'm a non-hunting judge. And man, Mark is just riding me through the whole 8 minutes on this tree. Coon could hide here, coon could hide there, and I've already made up my mind. 3 or 4 minutes into this tree, this is a minus tree. Now I'd already made a big mistake early in this cast. What Wyatt Monan said was a coon, could not plus. I circled a tree that had a coon in it. We found out after the shine time was over, we did see the coon. And so I've already made a mistake in this cast. And I'm here. I'm not wanting to make another. I don't want to make any, of course. I mean, these guys are hunting. The winner's guaranteed 20 grand of this cast. And good money. Life-changing money for some people. And Mark is just riding me through this tree. I can't believe you're going to minus this. And, the whole time I'm saying, you got to show me something. You got to show me something. That's not enough. That's not enough. And we're going at it. We're going back and forth. And I've been around long enough to know I don't hold grudges with stuff like that. Handler's doing what handler's supposed to do. And so I minus the tree. Mark never says another word. Wyatt Monin ends up winning the cast with Hawk. Hawk was a young dog then. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago. And we get done with that cast, and we get the scorecard done, and everything's gathered up, and I'm getting in the truck, and I just shut the truck door, and I'm getting ready to head back to the clubhouse. And Mark comes up there to me. He goes, "Hey, no hard feelings, right?" He goes, "I was just trying to help my dog out." And I said, "No, man. I know how it's played. I know how the game works. No hard feelings. You're just doing what you were supposed to do." And then, off we went. And I left that cast thinking, that's a pretty stand-up guy. Not very many people would have came up and apologized to me after the cast and said, "Hey, no hard feelings." And of course, I've drawn Mark, Judge Mark. I have had Mark in an Elite Handler Series event against Joe Manning, all that stuff. He's always been good as gold. He's always been gracious. And as far as I'm concerned, he's a good dog man with a really good dog. And I'm just super happy for him. And so, yeah, we're going to get Mark on the podcast eventually, no doubt. Uh, haven't been able to do it since his big win. Man, he's rolling in the dough now. He's made 100 grand, but I would have been happy for any of them guys. Brett, Michael, Duel. I would have been very happy with any of them winning. But I'm glad Mark won too, and congratulations to him. Then, so yeah, Mark also feeds. And another thing I wanted to mention: 3 of the 4 dogs in that finals fed Joy dog food. And I know this is the Fueled by Joy podcast, and guys who say, "Oh, you just say this stuff bragging up Joy because they pay you and all this stuff." Well, I don't even work for Joy Dog Food anymore, and I haven't for over a year now. And yes, they pay me to do the podcast. Wade is one of my best, if not my best friends. And but I look at it as I look at it like this. Here's Dual Murphy, one of the best in the world. Michael Ward, one of the best in the world. Mark Gilmore winning 100 grand with one of the best dogs in the world, all feeding Joy dog food. And you guys say it ain't good enough for yours? Come on. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. They do so much for the sport, and Wade's so good for the sport. And these dogs that are winning big, they're eating Joy dog food, and there's no excuses as far as quality goes. And so, yeah, if it can keep Clyde and JoJo and Crash and those dogs winning like they're winning, and plus all the other winners that we have, under the Joy banner, I don't think it's a quality thing. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. Congratulations to Mark. Um, really impressed with Clyde, and I like to see Cheyenne Cummings dogs do so well. And Clyde, of course, he's out of Shack. Shack, one of my favorite dogs. I need to get down there and do a dog life series with Shy and Jen and Dalton and all them guys from Redneck Mafia down to Stogie and what they're hunting now. Such good folks, good people, good friends, and I think it's important to get that out there as well. So, yeah, congratulations to Mark. Really cool event. Sorry I wasn't down there. They've split that hunt the last 2 years, and I think it was hunted with Echo the first year. There was 2 hunts that first year. First year, Echo won it. They hunted it off there. I believe it was Scotty that made him hunt too. So that's awesome. I love to see the guys that make them hunt go win it. Um, they split the next one. The next one after that, Steve Sykes won it with Lightning. Congrats to Doug Hebner, who's going to be in the Super Hunt with his world champion female hooker. Doug made him hunt the one year, and I got the video of that. That was awesome to see Steve Sykes win that and win life changing money with a dog that he owned himself and raised himself. That was just amazing. And then they go to split, and they split the one in Illinois. They split one in Mississippi. And so I didn't go down there because there's nothing for me. People don't take into account that when I leave and go on a hunt, uh, go cover a hunt, I have lots of expenses: fuel, gas, hotels or the camper or whatever I'm staying in. There's a lot of expense there, and if those guys split, it's not worth it to me. I'll lose a lot of money every time I go down there when them guys split because, frankly, the final cast is what people pay to watch, and that's what pays the bills. So if there's going to be no final cast, there's no sense in me going. And then all of a sudden, and I even told Christy and Shane both. They asked if I was coming down. I said no because they split all the time. I said I can't take the chance. And there's an 80% chance of them splitting. It makes no sense for me to go down there. And I wake up the next morning. I've got phone calls from Christy and texts from Shane and Christy both, and I know what happened. Them them SOBs hunted. But I'm glad they did. I'm glad those guys went out there. Congratulations to all 4 finalists: Brett, Michael, Duel, and of course Mark. Great guys with great dogs, and I'm super happy for them. So I wanted to touch on that first before we get into these listener questions. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we will get back with a couple good ones. We got a rules question. We've got a recut question. A lot of good stuff coming in, and then we'll get to this commercial break, and then we'll get into that.
Hi, everyone. Wade Graskowitz here, owner of Joy Pet Foods here in Illinois. Just want to reach out today and first of all, thank everybody that supports Joy Dog Food. We appreciate everything that every single customer for Joy does for us. We're still a small, family-owned pet food company. USA-made products, born and raised right here. Another reason I wanted to jump on here today is hunting season's in full swing, and this time of the year, you'll learn that, and I did too, if you start seeing your dog with no stamina, no energy, weight loss, issues with the hair and the coat, and, after 2 or 3 days, your dog just doesn't want to come out of the dog box. Guys, there's an issue. And I just want to challenge you guys, if you're not feeding Joy Dog Food, give us a try. I'm very confident that if you give us a try and you're feeding a product that you're not satisfied with or your dog's not satisfied with, once you try Joy Dog Food, you will not switch back. You won't. And if something happens and you're having issues, please pick up the phone and call 1-800-245-4125 and personally ask for me, Wade Graskowitz, the owner. And again, thank you very much for your support of Joy Dog Food.
Okay. First question I got was from Colby Taylor. And his question was about the stipulations on the minute rule in UKC, the United Kennel Club. Now, the minute rule is a hot topic. I don't care what kennel club you are, Pro Sport, UKC, PKC, AKC, whatever. I don't even know if AKC has a minute rule. They have a minute rule that if dogs bark through the minute, you guys go back and listen to Dual Murphy's podcast when he won the AKC World Hunt. It's a different kind of rule, and I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not going to expunge on it too much. But I did want to talk about UKC, which I'm not as familiar with, and PKC, which I'm very familiar with and actually have some experience with recently. And so we're going to talk about the minute rule in UKC first. All right. You're reading straight from the UKC rule book. After first minute, each time dog is released, dog must be declared struck on or before the third bark. So after the first minute, you have to strike your dog. Now, there's nothing in the UKC rule book about if you strike your dog under the minute and it moves so many yards or there's so many seconds or so many whatever that it has to be minus. So it's a judgment call. And this is based on what limited experience I have in UKC and their own rules. Now you look at the babbling point system, dogs will be minus under the babbling rule, which is 2B. Dogs declared struck and determined to be babbling shall be minused on strike. If there is any question when a hunting judge is used, the cast must vote immediately. So here's the thing in UKC, to my knowledge, and like I said, not the foremost expert in UKC, The hunts I have been in, I've liked their rules, especially with the no leash lock and some of the stuff they do. But it's a judgment call on the minute. And so, say you turn your dogs loose, um, your dog leaves barking. It barks through 40 seconds. You strike it, and it shuts up and goes a long ways and opens again. You're probably going to get minus. But there's no rule in the book that says you have to be. Okay, it just says if a dog is determined to be babbling. And it's pretty much the same in UKC, but how people play it in PKC, I'm sorry, but how people play it in PKC is if you bark after the minute, you're pretty much golden. You know, when I'm judging, that is how I rule it. If you bark through the minute and you leave barking, yeah, your dog's probably a barking idiot, but I don't care. And most judges don't care. And so if your dog leaves barking and you're pretty sure it's babbling and it barks, at 55 seconds and you strike it and it's still barking at 1 minute and 5 seconds, then you're pretty much safe. That dog could probably shut its mouth, move a long ways, and get out of trouble and be fine. In UKC, it's a little different story, I think. Um, you need to be careful striking under the minute, but if you do, there's really no rule that says you're going to be minus if you do not bark after that. Say you bark at 45 seconds, you strike, the minute's up, your dog's still running, it opens again 200-300 yards away, it's up to the judge. And it's pretty much the same in PKC. But I had an experience with that it was just here last December at La Plata. I was handling a dog for Zach McBee and Bobby Merchant, Justin Caldwell, Jewel, a dog I'm familiar with, a dog I really like. And I'll just say it, Monty Gussie was my judge, and I don't think Monty was wrong. I think his interpretation of it disagreed with mine, but Ronnie, or he wasn't trying to, or Monty wasn't trying to just really hose me out of this cast. I think that he would have scored this whether I had an 800-point lead or was 200 points down. I think he would have scored it the same way. That's just how Monty judges, and that's perfectly okay with me. I get it. I did question the call, though. It did not matter at the end of the cast. And so, we just withdrew it. We had a good cast of guys. Me, Brett Myers, Monty Gussie. We had really good dogmen in there. No problems. We treat some coons, but what it come down to is I really needed 100 strike. And normally, Jewel don't babble. Jewel don't leave barking. Actually, we lined all four of these dogs up in a wide open field next to each other out of the truck. And we turned them loose, and it was 4 minutes before a dog opened its mouth. And so we know none of these dogs babble. Okay. And so Dennis Thornhill was the other guy in the cast. Dennis gets treed. Brett gets treed. I get treed. Monty gets treed. I believe in that order. We all got coons. Brett had took some minus. There was some funny stuff there. I think he had a coon in the ground and pulled it out, and Jewel treated it, to be honest. But anyway, how it comes out is um, Dennis had treated a coon, was able to recut because Monty had not treated in yet. They come to me and Brett, and Monty's treat again, and Dennis's treat again. So we're all leash locked, but Dennis is on his second treat. I've got a coon. Monty's got a coon. Brett has a coon and a minus for leaving, and Dennis has two coons now. And so I'm a coon down, and we've walked a lot, and the hunt's winding down a little bit. So I know that I've got to get in there pretty good. Brett's got a good strike dog and ace. Monty, I'm not real familiar with his dog. She's out of Josie. She's a good dog. She looked really good that night. And Dennis is hunting his male dog. And Ace and Jewel get cut. All four dogs get cut. We're leash locked, so all four dogs get cut. Ace and Jewel are the only two dogs barking. And so this goes on for about 30 seconds. And now we're in this little patch of woods where we've already treed 2 coons. Um, so we know there's coon scent everywhere. We know these dogs probably aren't babblers. And I strike under the minute. Brett strikes right behind me. I bark probably 6 or 7 times after the minute. The minute's up and Jewel opens again. I say, Jewel, 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 Jewel. Every time she strikes, Jewel does shut her mouth and move 250 yards. Now, she had dogs around her. I think she just shut her mouth. She was still running that same track. Didn't open it again until and down the track, and Monty minus me. His interpretation is if you strike under the minute, then there is no leeway. You better keep your mouth open, which is fine. I don't agree with it. I questioned it. I think I would have wanted if it had come to a panel, but that's how he judges it, and I'm no ill will. We just questioned it. We all acted like gentlemen, and it didn't matter at the end. Jewel ended up treeing a slick. Um, Thornhill's dog treed another circle tree, and Monty's dog kept running, and that was it. Thornhill wins the cast. And so that's what I'm saying. I said a really long story just to get to this point that the judge matters. How judges score that minute rule is important. I don't care if it's UKC, PKC, whatever. Their interpretation is going to determine the stipulations behind that minute rule. 99% of judges would not have minus me. I feel like maybe they would have, especially since I barked after the minute. Um, and so, as judges, I think we need to use common sense. Was Jewel babbling there? No. Jewel was obviously struck on a coon track to me, knowing the dog, but the judge don't know your dog either. So I'm not trying to knock Monty in any way. I think he did exactly what he thought was right. I don't think he was trying to gain an unfair advantage. I think that's just how he judges babbling dogs or the minute rule or whatever. And so do I feel that Jewel was babbling? No. Ace was babbling? No, I do not. So sometimes I think the common sense rule comes into play where you just make sure, do you really feel like that dog is babbling? Then minus it. If you don't feel like that dog is babbling, won't minus it. That's, that is basically your stipulations on the minute rule by my interpretation in PKC, UKC, Pro Sport, all of them. And so, yeah, take that for what it's worth. But the bottom line, be careful striking your dog under the minute. Uh, it either needs to keep its mouth open all the time or it needs to be struck after the minute if you're going to be 100% safe. Now, you can be in a situation like I was where you need to gamble and you take that chance. Sometimes it bites you, sometimes it don't. So that is up to the handler. As we know, this is a team sport. Is it between you and your dog? You're trying to give every advantage to your dog and do what good handlers do. And so if you take a chance and it bites you, it is what it is. So yeah, that's my interpretation of the minute rule in both UKC and PKC, Pro Sport, all that stuff. Thanks, Colby, for sending that question in. We sure appreciate it. And yeah, we got one more good question to get into. Jody Smith sent this in. Well, thanks to Jody for reaching out. Uh, he says, "Hey Josh, was wanting your opinion on an English pup I'm starting. She'll be a year old next week. Had a hard time. Awesome. Got her when she was 9 months old. She had ran loose on the farm. He'd hunted her a couple times with his old dog. She split off and treed. After that, she's been hunted by herself only. She's treed 20 coons by herself. Has been really accurate. Um, my question is, she's such a hard tree dog and so tree minded. Trying to get her to recut off trees is difficult. Any ideas on that? I don't pet her up on a lot of trees. Very good, Jody. Smart idea. He says any info is appreciated. First of all, sounds like a really good pup, Jody. Sounds like you're well on your way. Some pups are just naturals. Looks like Jody's got his hands on one, but even naturals take a little bit of training. I don't care when everyone says, "Oh, I just go turn them loose." That's BS. You don't just go turn them loose. We're all doing something all the time, and some dogs need a little bit of help. And that's what we're here for as trainers and handlers. And so I had a really good video of this. It is if you go to Canestream Media on YouTube and you go to the 8 to the 12 month range on the puppy training episode. I done 3 episodes, birth to 4 months, 4 to 8 months, 8 to 12 months. And the 8 to 12 months, which is where he's at, is right where, I talk about the recut. And the recut is so important. People don't understand how important the recut is on the competition side. Now, if you're wanting to spot hunt a pleasure dog and you're not caring about titles or money won or something like that, then don't worry about it. They can go back to trees. They can do whatever. Move them to a new spot. But if you're wanting to win and you got a dog that, is having trouble recutting, especially a young dog, it's not a hard fix. You just have to get them in a habit. And so, first things first, let your dog tell you when it's ready to recut. Okay, I know, and I've had them. They're freaks, they're flukes. Zach McBee talked about Hunter going back to trees sometimes 45 minutes after he cut him off one, in a hunt or something and losing crazy or something like that. And Duds would do the same thing too. I seen Duds go a mile on a line back to a tree one time. He was treed, scored. It's a coon up a big tall cottonwood like a million coons he's ever treed before, but every now and then he would get it in his head that he had to go back. Didn't do it with me very often, but he would do it with a lot of other people handling him. And I was the first dog treed. Everything got treed walking to me. And so I'm leash locked. So I pulled Duds off this tree. It was I can't remember, legacy hunt or something like that. I don't know if it was a pro hunt. I can't remember what it was. It was a decent entry fee. But luckily I won the cast because by the time I was leash locked, by the time we scored the other 3 trees. Now keep in mind, we scored 3 trees. I'm a mile from his first tree. We go score all 3. We've got 1 coon and a couple slicks or something like that, or a couple circles. And we go this mile and we turn loose all 3 dogs the opposite direction of this tree. It is a mile away, and he turns around and goes back to it on line. I think within 6 or 7 minutes, he was there and treed again. Luckily, we didn't hear him. I didn't have to hear him. And when everything else got treed, I treed him, leash locked everything, and the hunt was over. I ended up winning anyway, so it didn't hurt me. But still, some dogs are going to go back, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. But it's not. That's a pretty rare instance. With a young dog like this female that Jody's talking about, you have to do a few things just to get them in a habit. First of all, never, ever, ever spot hunt them. Never one dropping back in the truck unless it's some kind of crazy circumstance. Okay? Always recut. Now, one thing I would say is I shoot a lot of coons to my young dogs, and so it's a lot easier to recut off a dead coon than it is off a tree. But in my experience, a guy that knocks a lot of coons out, almost every coon, to his dog, I never have any trouble with dogs going back. I think that dogs make enough dens, make enough slicks, even if they're a super accurate dog, they're 8 out of 10. They're going to have that's a crazy accurate dog. If you see 8 out of 10 coons, that's really accurate. And they're still getting cut 20% of the time off a tree that they don't get a coon off. And so if you're making plenty of trees with that dog and you're hunting pretty hard, they're getting used to being recut. But with that young dog, I think it's really important to walk that dog off that tree until it starts pulling on your lead, wanting to go away from the tree. You can tell. You can tell by your dog's body language how it's acting if it's still got that last tree on its mind. So maybe it's 30 seconds, maybe it's 5 minutes that you have to walk that dog, but just walk it. Take that dog, walk it a long ways. Walk it until that dog is pulling on the leash, wanting to go away from you. And when it does, unsnap it. Now, the second part of this is, where do you unsnap? All right. Now, I live in North Missouri where we have a lot of field edges, a lot of creek bottoms, field roads, things like that. I want to get that dog where it can really, really get a good view of what's in front of it and get out of it. You don't want to turn that pup loose in a thicket and try to get it to recut. Even the middle of a timber, you want to find a deer trail or the bottom of a ditch or something like that, to where that dog has a clear path away from that tree. Because I really feel like once these dogs get turned loose and go to hunting again, especially if you've walked them long enough where they don't have that tree on their mind anymore, that they're going to recut a little easier. And so with a young dog, you do that. And then eventually you get to where, say that dog has treed 25, 30, 40 coons off the recut. Okay. Uh, it knows that it's supposed to go tree a different coon than that one that was on to first. Then you can start making shorter trips, get it 30 seconds, minute off the tree, recut it, and then you can start getting onto it a little bit for going back. These dogs are so smart. They don't get a lot of credit for the intelligence that they do have. They know when they are back at the same tree. For instance, the other night, I'm hunting Ralph, my spring 1-year-old of J.R. Wall's that I'm hunting for J.R. Wall. He trees a coon in a den tree. I squall it out. It comes down the tree. He sees it, loses his mind, goes back in a hole. I can't give him this coon. I can't give him this coon. And it's already back in the hole. And so I'm thinking he's probably going to go back to this tree. Now, this is a dog that's been recut and treed 100 coons off recuts probably in the 9 months, 10 months that I've had him. He's treated a lot of coons off recuts. And so he's a natural recutting dog. He knows that what I want him to do. And so I didn't walk him very far off this tree. We were probably 40 yards off the field edge, maybe 35, 40 yards off the field edge. I walk him to that field edge. I cut him through that field, and he makes a little loop and goes down to that tree. And I wanted to see what he would do. I didn't want to get onto him yet. I wanted to see what he'd do. He goes back to that tree. I'm watching him on the tracking system, and he's just sitting under it. Never says a word. Like I said, he's only 35, 40 yards from me. And I just yell. I said, Ralph, no, get out of here. Next thing I know, he's a quarter mile down the ditch and he's hunting again. He trees another coon. I give him that one. It worked out great. They know. They know when they're back at the same tree. So once you get that dog a few coons in its mouth and some reward for treeing coons off a recut, start shortening that distance up. Make sure that they know that that is a no-no, that is not allowed. And once they know that, and they know the reward is at the end of the next tree, then they'll go looking for that next tree. So, like I said, good video on this, the 8 to 12 month training series on Cane Stream Media on YouTube. So go check that out. And good question, Jody. Sounds like you have an awesome pup. Let me know how it works out for you. Let me know if you do what I said to do or if you do something on your own. Either way, I'm always up for learning new techniques or new ways to make a dog better. So that's it. That's all we got for you this week on Tree Dog Tuesday. I appreciate you listening. We got a lot of good stuff coming up on the podcast. Remember to tune in to Working Dog Wednesday, Competition Corner News Desk every Monday. Some good stuff here on Fueled by Joy. So once again, thanks for listening. I really appreciate you, and we will see you next week.